Why are you taking an Uber? What happened to the SUV we gave you for your graduation? My brother Daniel's voice carried across the parking lot of the upscale steakhouse, loud enough that several people turning into the restaurant turned to look. He stood beside his Tesla, one hand still on the door handle, his face twisted in genuine confusion. His wife Emma emerged from the passenger side, her designer handbag catching the evening light, her expression matching his bewilderment. I froze halfway out of the Uber, my hand gripping the door frame so tightly my knuckles went white. The question hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs and leaving me struggling to form words. What SUV? The question should have been simple to answer, but I could not speak because the truth was I had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. Before I could gather my thoughts, before I could process what was happening, my mother appeared behind Daniel. She had that look on her face, the one I had learned to recognize over 26 years of being her daughter. That particular expression that meant she had done something she knew was wrong but had already constructed an elaborate justification for it. Her eyes darted between me and Daniel, calculating, and then she laughed. That high, nervous laugh she always used when she was about to lie. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, directing her words at Daniel but keeping her eyes on me. Sarah decided to sell it. She said it was too expensive to maintain, and the insurance was killing her budget. You know how practical she's always been about money. The lie was so smooth, so perfectly delivered, that for a moment I almost questioned my own memory. But I knew with absolute certainty that I had never owned any SUV, had never sold any vehicle, and had definitely never received a graduation gift worth tens of thousands of dollars. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I am 26 years old, and I work as a senior analyst at a mid-sized accounting firm in Denver, a position I earned through 4 years of night school while working full-time as a bookkeeper. I pay my own rent on a modest one-bedroom apartment, I buy my own groceries, and I have spent the last 8 years building a life that depends on no one but myself. But standing in that parking lot, watching my mother's performance and seeing the confusion on my brother's face, I realized that the independence I thought I had achieved was built on a foundation of lies I had not even known existed. "I never received any SUV," I said, my voice coming out steadier than I expected. "Nobody told me about any car. Nobody gave me anything for my graduation." Daniel's confusion deepened, the lines on his forehead creasing as he processed my words. "What are you talking about? Mom and Dad asked me specifically what kind of vehicle you would want. We all went in together on it. I picked it out with them at the dealership. A black Honda CR-V with all the safety features. We even got the extended warranty because you drive so much for work." The details he provided made the theft more real, more concrete. This was not some vague promise or miscommunication. This was an actual vehicle, purchased with actual money that had somehow disappeared before I even knew it existed. If you want the full truth, hit like so this story reaches more people. My mother's laugh became more forced, more desperate. "Daniel, you're misremembering. That was 3 years ago. Sarah sold it within 6 months. Remember, she told us at Thanksgiving that year." "No," Daniel said slowly, and I watched his face transform as memory and reality collided. "No, she didn't. I asked her about the car at Thanksgiving and you told me she loved it. You showed me pictures of her driving it." My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. "Pictures? What pictures?" My mother's face had gone pale, but she recovered quickly, her survival instincts kicking in the way they always did when she was cornered. "We should go inside. We're making a scene. People are staring. This is Dad's birthday dinner, and we're not going to ruin it by dredging up ancient history about a car that was sold years ago." But Daniel was not letting it go. His analytical mind, the same one that had made him successful in software engineering, was now working through the inconsistencies in the story he had been told. "Mom," he said carefully, his voice taking on an edge I had rarely heard, "where's that car now? If Sarah sold it 3 years ago, there would be records, title transfers, bills of sale. Sarah keeps meticulous financial records. She would have documentation." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw the moment he started to believe me. "You really don't know anything about this car, do you?" I shook my head, not trusting my voice. The Uber driver had long since pulled away, leaving me stranded in this parking lot confrontation, and I was suddenly grateful for it. Some conversations needed to happen, no matter how painful. Daniel pulled out his phone, his fingers moving quickly across the screen. I'm looking at my bank records right now. May 15th, 3 years ago. I transferred $12,000 to Dad with the memo, Sarah's graduation car. Mom and Dad matched it. That's $36,000 total. He looked up at me, then at our mother. $36,000, and Sarah is standing here telling me she never received it. My mother's composure was cracking now, hairline fractures spreading across the facade she had maintained. You don't understand. The situation was complicated. Your sister needed it more. She had just gotten that job across town and her old car died. She was pregnant and couldn't rely on public transportation. Sarah has always been fine with the bus. She's never complained. The parking lot seemed to tilt beneath my feet. Your sister. Not our sister. Your sister. As if I was not standing right there, as if I was not part of this family, as if I was some distant acquaintance whose needs and feelings were secondary to everyone else's. Daniel's face had gone from confused to furious in the span of seconds. Jessica? You gave Sarah's car to Jessica? Mom, Jessica lives 4 miles from her office. Sarah commutes an hour each way on 2 different buses. Sarah works until 8 or 9 at night during tax season and has to wait at dark bus stops. We bought that car specifically because we were worried about her safety. The validation of his words nearly broke me. Someone had been worried about me. Someone had thought about my long commutes and my safety and had tried to do something about it. And that gift had been stolen before I ever knew it existed. Emma, Daniel's wife, had been silent throughout this exchange, but now she spoke up, her voice quiet but firm. How many times has this happened? My mother turned to her and I saw something dangerous flash in her eyes. This is a family matter, Emma. You wouldn't understand. I understand theft, Emma said coldly. I understand fraud. And I understand that what you're describing is both. The word hung in the air between us like a bomb that had been dropped but not yet exploded. Fraud, criminal behavior. Not just family drama or complicated dynamics, but actual illegal activity. My father emerged from the restaurant then, confused by our absence. What's everyone doing out here? We have a reservation. Daniel, your mother says you're holding everyone up. Daniel turned to face our father, and I saw him make a decision in real time. The brother who had always been the peacemaker, who had always smoothed over family conflicts and encouraged everyone to get along, had reached his limit. Dad, he said, his voice carrying across the parking lot, where is the Honda CR-V that we bought for Sarah's graduation 3 years ago? My father's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, then recognition, then something that looked uncomfortably like guilt. The car. He glanced at my mother, then at me, then back at Daniel. That's what this is about. We're standing in a parking lot arguing about a car from 3 years ago instead of celebrating my birthday. Answer the question, Daniel said, and there was steel in his voice I had never heard before. Where is the car that we purchased for Sarah? It's at Jessica's house, my father said, as if this should be obvious. She needed it. Her situation was more urgent. Sarah was doing fine without it. The casual admission, delivered without any acknowledgement of wrongdoing, was somehow worse than if he had lied. He genuinely saw nothing wrong with taking a gift intended for me and giving it to my sister. He had convinced himself that my sister's needs would always outweigh mine, that my ability to survive without help meant I should have to. Comment justice if you believe she deserved better. Let me tell you about my sister Jessica, because without context, none of this makes sense. Jessica is 29, 3 years older than me, and she has been the center of our family's universe since the day she was born. Where I was quiet and studious, she was charismatic and social. Where I planned and saved, she spent and assumed someone would catch her, and someone always did. When Jessica dropped out of college after 1 semester because she found it boring, my parents paid off her student loans and helped her get an apartment. When I graduated with my accounting degree after 6 years of night school, I got a card with $50 in it. When Jessica quit her 4th job in 2 years because she did not like her manager, my parents covered her rent for 6 months. When I was laid off during the recession and struggled to find work, I was told that tough times build character. When Jessica got pregnant at 26 with a man she had been dating for 3 months, our parents threw her an elaborate baby shower and helped her buy a house. When I got engaged to Marcus last year after 5 years together, my mother's first comment was to ask if we were sure we could afford a wedding. The pattern had been so consistent, so relentless, that I had learned to expect nothing. I had learned to celebrate my own achievements alone, to solve my own problems, to build a life that required no assistance from anyone. I thought I had made peace with being invisible. What I had not realized was that I was not just invisible. I was actively being robbed. How many times? I asked, my voice cutting through the tense silence. The question hung there, sharp and dangerous. How many times have you taken things meant for me and given them to Jessica? My mother's face hardened. We're not doing this here. We're not ruining your father's birthday with your drama. My drama? The words came out as a laugh, bitter and harsh. You stole a $36,000 vehicle that my brother and parents bought for me, gave it to Jessica, and somehow I'm the one creating drama by asking about it. Daniel was scrolling through his phone again, his face growing darker with each swipe. The college fund, he said quietly. Grandma Helen's college fund. She set up accounts for both of you. Sarah, do you remember getting any money from that fund? I thought back to my years of working full-time while attending community college, then night classes at the university. I had applied for every scholarship, worked every available overtime shift, eaten ramen for dinner more nights than I could count. A college fund would have changed everything. I never received anything from any college fund, I said. I paid for school myself, student loans and work. It took me 6 years to finish because I could only afford 2 classes per semester. Daniel's jaw clenched. That fund had $60,000 in it. Grandma died when you were 19, just starting college. The money was supposed to be distributed then. Dad, my father had the decency to look uncomfortable. Jessica needed help with her expenses. She was struggling. And Sarah was managing fine on her own. She's always been resourceful. So you stole $60,000 from me, I said, and the words felt surreal coming out of my mouth. You took money that my grandmother left specifically for my education and you gave it to Jessica. We didn't steal it, my mother snapped. We redistributed it to where it was needed most. Jessica was struggling with depression. She needed support. You were doing fine. You've always done fine. You don't need help the way she does. Emma pulled out her own phone. I'm documenting this, every word, because this is not redistribution, this is theft. And if there was a designated beneficiary on that college fund, it's potentially criminal. My mother's face went red. How dare you threaten this family? You're not even blood. You have no right to interfere. Daniel stepped between them. Emma is my wife. She has every right to speak. And she's right. This is theft. I want a full accounting. Every gift, every fund, every dollar that was supposed to go to Sarah. I want to know where it went. That's impossible, my father said. We don't keep records of family gifts from years ago. You keep records of everything, Daniel shot back. You have files going back decades. Tax returns, receipts, bank statements. You taught us that financial documentation was sacred. So either you produce those records or I start making calls. To lawyers. To Grandma's estate attorney. To the IRS. Type yes if you want to see all the truth come out at once. The threat landed like he intended it to. My parents exchanged a look, one of those wordless communications that long-married couples develop. In that look, I saw calculation, fear, and a desperate attempt to figure out how to minimize the damage. We should go inside, my father finally said. Discuss this privately, like a family. We tried that for 26 years, I said, and my voice was steady now, clear and strong. It didn't work out well for me, so no. We're having this conversation right here, right now, and you're going to tell me everything you took, everything you gave to Jessica, every lie you told, every gift that disappeared, all of it. My mother looked like she wanted to run, to disappear into the restaurant and pretend this conversation had never happened. But Daniel had positioned himself between her and the entrance, and Emma stood beside me now, a silent show of solidarity that meant more than I could express. The birthday money, Daniel said, still scrolling through his phone. Every year since Sarah turned 18, I've sent you money to give her for her birthday. $200 every year, 8 years. That's $1,600. Sarah, how much of that did you receive? I thought about my birthdays over the past 8 years. The cards with $20 or $50 always accompanied by comments about being practical, about not spending it all in one place. Some years, nothing at all except a phone call. Maybe $300 total, I said, over 8 years. My father cleared his throat. Jessica needed help with bills. Sarah has always been employed. She did not need the money as urgently. I have been employed because I had no choice, I said, and something inside me was breaking open, years of suppressed anger and hurt finally finding a voice. I have been employed since I was 16 because no one was going to help me. I worked 40 hours a week while taking a full course load because there was no college fund. I lived in a terrible apartment with 3 roommates in a bad neighborhood because there was no help with rent. I drove a car that broke down twice a month because there was no graduation gift. And all of that struggle was because you were taking everything meant for me and giving it to her. Your sister has challenges, my mother said, her voice taking on that pleading quality she used when she wanted sympathy. She has anxiety. She has trouble keeping jobs. She needs support. And what do I have? I asked. What do I need? Or does that not matter because I figured out how to survive without you? Emma spoke up again, her voice cutting. This is a pattern called financial abuse. When family members systematically deprive one person of resources while favoring another, it's recognized as a form of abuse. And legally, if money was designated for Sarah, it's embezzlement. Share this video so others understand what was hiding in their families. My phone buzzed in my purse, then again, and again. I pulled it out to find messages from Jessica. Texts demanding to know what was happening, why Daniel was asking questions about the car, why I was trying to ruin everything. She knew. Of course she knew. You could not drive someone else's car for 3 years without knowing it was not meant for you. Daniel saw me looking at my phone. Jessica, I nodded. She's asking what's happening. He held out his hand. Let me see. I handed him the phone and watched his face darken as he read. She knows, he said flatly. She's known the entire time. Every gift, every dollar, every opportunity. She knew it was supposed to be yours and she took it anyway. My mother tried one last defense. She's your sister. You're going to destroy your relationship with her over money? Over things? No, I said, and my voice was clear and certain. You destroyed my relationship with her the moment you taught her that she was entitled to everything and I was entitled to nothing. You destroyed this family when you decided one daughter mattered and the other was just supposed to survive. Daniel looked at our parents with something close to contempt. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to provide a complete accounting of every gift, every fund, every dollar that was meant for Sarah. We're going to calculate the total and you're going to repay her. Every cent. With interest. That's impossible, my father said. We don't have that kind of money. Then you're going to figure it out, Daniel said. Sell the vacation house. Downsize from this ridiculous suburban mansion. Stop funding Jessica's lifestyle. I don't care how you do it, but you're going to make this right. And if you don't, I have enough documentation right here to start legal proceedings. Emma was still typing on her phone. I'm sending you the name of an attorney, she said to me. Someone who specializes in estate and family financial disputes. You should consult with them before making any decisions. If this shocked you, comment betrayed below. I looked at my parents, really looked at them, perhaps for the first time in years without the lens of trying to win their approval or understand their reasoning. They looked old suddenly, and scared, and smaller than they had ever seemed before. Part of me wanted to smooth it over, to say it was fine, to go back to being invisible if it meant keeping some semblance of family intact. But that part was drowned out by a louder voice, one that had been silent for too long. I want the car, I said. The Honda CR-V, I want it transferred to my name by the end of this week. And I want a full accounting of everything else within 30 days. If you don't provide it, I'll pursue legal options. My mother's eyes filled with tears. You're going to destroy this family. No, I said quietly. You already did that. I'm just finally admitting it. Daniel pulled out his keys. Come on, he said. Emma and I will drive you home. You don't need to stay for this dinner. We walked toward his Tesla, leaving our parents standing in the parking lot looking shell-shocked. Behind us, I heard my mother crying and my father trying to comfort her, their voices fading as we put distance between us. Inside Daniel's car, I finally let myself feel everything I had been holding back. Emma turned around from the front seat and handed me tissues. How long have you known? I asked Daniel. He met my eyes in the rearview mirror. I suspected for years. Things never added up. But I told myself I was imagining it. I believed them when they said you were doing fine. I'm sorry I didn't push harder. You're pushing now, I said. That's what matters. As we drove through Denver's evening traffic, my phone continued to buzz with messages from Jessica, then from my mother, each one more desperate than the last. But I did not read them. Instead, I looked out at the city lights and thought about the life I would build now, with the truth finally exposed and allies finally beside me. If you believe everyone deserves their story told, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me what gift was stolen from you. And subscribe because next week, I'm sharing what happened when I went to reclaim that car from Jessica's driveway. And let me just say, she did not take it well. This is just the beginning, and trust me, You want to see how this ends.